We'll do it all.
Algebra 1 students, here's the rest of your 2.5 notes, solving literal equations and formulas. The first day we focused on literal equations. Today we move on to formulas. But we'll start with a little bit of review on what we did with literal equations. So we'll start with number 1 here. 5 times the quantity of x minus a equals 2x. Our instructions are to solve for x, so we'll go ahead and distribute the 5. And we have a couple of options here, but I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5x. So negative 5a equals negative 3x. Remember, we are solving for x, so we would divide by negative 3, and x then would be 5/3 a. Let's take a look at the next one here. Again, we want to distribute. This time, that minus sign, there's like an implied number 1 right here. You don't have to have it written, but you have to consider it. It's essentially a negative 1 being distributed, so we'll have 2 minus 3x minus 4 equals 7. The first thing I notice here is that I have a 2 and a negative 4. I can combine those and make that negative 3x minus 2 is equal to 7. We'll add 2 to each side. And then, of course, divide by negative 3. And x then would be negative 3. All right, so that's your review on a little bit of problem solving. I'm not sure I'd really necessarily call these literal equations, especially the second one, but we're using the same processes. All right, so we're going to do some problem solving, some application work. Just as a reminder, anytime you see the pi symbol, when we need to use it on a formula, we'll actually get that from our calculator. Now, if you're using a graphing calculator like mine over here, we would just hit second, and then it's over here, and it would look like that. Now, some of you may have been told prior that you could just type in 3.14. That'll get you a decent estimate, but I really want you to use the pi button. Find it on your calculator. If you have trouble finding it, show it to me in next class, and I'll be happy to help you. If you have a scientific calculator, it's there. It kind of varies at location, but it's more accurate to use that than to use the just to type in 3.14 or some other approximation. All right, so a rectangle has a perimeter of 46 centimeters and a width of 6. What is the length? Now, there's no pi involved in this question, of course, but what we do have is a rectangle. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch a rectangle. I would encourage you to do the same thing when you're working. Have a little sketch. So what we know is that the perimeter is 46 centimeters. And the width is 6. I'm going to call this side over here 6 centimeters. That means this side here is also 6 centimeters. Now what we don't know is the length. I'm going to call that my variable, so that's x. That side over there would also be x. If I need to solve for x, I would just simply add the 4 sides together. X plus 6 plus 6 equals 46. We'll combine like terms, so 2x plus 12 is equal to 46. We can subtract 12 from each side. So 2x would be 34. And then our last step, a little bit of division, and we would know that the length is 17 centimeters. All right. What is the radius of a circle with a circumference of 44? Now, I do think, again, it's a good idea to have a sketch. Circles, it may not be quite as important, but I still think it's better to have it than not. Remember, circumference, this word right here, means the perimeter of a circle. And we have a little formula that I believe you guys will know coming into this class. If not, I'm showing it to you right now. Circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius. You may also know this as just simply pi times the diameter. We tend to stick with radius more than diameter in circular equations, so we're going to go with the first of those two options. So what we know here is that the radius of the circles is what we're looking for. That's our variable. Circumference is 44, and it doesn't give us a unit. It's just 44 units, whatever that happens to be. So I'm plugging in 44 to replace the circumference there. And I need to divide both sides by 2 pi. Now you have to be really careful with this calculation. When you punch it in the calculator, I'm going to show you two good ways to do it. One would be 44 divided by 2, and then you press enter, and then you divide by pi, and that gives you a good answer. So we got our answer. I'm going to go ahead and write it down. The radius is about 7.0, and we don't know what kind of units it is, so I'm going to leave that blank. You could write units, the word units, if you'd like. Another good way to type this in would be 44 divided by, and then I'm going to put 2 pi in parentheses, and some of you are probably saying, hey, what's going on here? Why do we have to put the 2 pi in parentheses? Well, here's why. The calculator is going to exactly follow order of operations. Multiplication and division are done left to right on the same step. So what I'm showing you right now is the wrong way to enter this. 44 divided by 2 times pi. Your calculator is going to divide by 2, then multiply by pi. We're going to get a completely wrong answer. It doesn't make sense that the radius would be 69.1 if the circumference is 44. So don't be afraid to use a little common sense. Think, does my answer make sense? And in that case, it wouldn't if you entered it the wrong way. All right, why don't you pause the video, do number 5, and see how your answer compares to mine. Welcome back. One clarification here. I had a word that I just added looking at this, and that word is base. It's not just a length, it's a base length. That's an important distinction. That should have been on the notes. Apologies, that's my fault. The formula for area of a triangle, though, is 1/2 base times height. We knew that the base was 8. The height was what we were looking for. We knew the area was 48 square inches. And 1/2 times 8 is 4. So 4h was equal to 48. And then division gave us the height of 12. All right, let's take a look at the next one. A rectangular soccer field has an area of 7,200 square yards. It has a width of 60 yards. What is the length of the soccer field? Again, I think it's a good idea to sketch the shape. It says it's a rectangular soccer field. Doesn't have to be drawn to scale, but having that there is helpful. The width is 60 yards. We're trying to find the length. That would be over here. And it says that the area is 7,200. Now remember, to do area of a rectangle, it's just simply length times width. And in this case, we know that 7,200 is the area. The length is our variable. The width is 60. So I'm just going to do 60x. All we have to do is a one-step division problem here. Now, you can definitely do this in your head if you just know 72 divided by 6. This isn't too bad, but you are, of course, welcome to use the calculator at this point. So x is equal to 120 yards. That's the length of the soccer field. All right, I believe this is our last example. Yes, it is. Let's take a look at number 7. You can use the formula A equals h over n. And by the way, I'm not sure on your notes that this formula right here actually copied. Apologies for that. I don't know why that happened. I'm going to blame someone besides me. Not my fault. All right, so I put it on here. It's here. I promise it was here. I don't know what happened. Sorry. All right. But you can use the formula A equals h over n to find the batting average of a baseball player who has h hits and n times up to bat. A player has a batting average of 360 or .360 if you prefer, and has been up to bat 275 times. How many hits does the batter have? So the average, we're going to say, is .360. You can leave the 0 out if you'd like. What we're looking for is the number of hits. That's our variable h. It's divided by the number of times up to bat, which is 275. Now we need to solve this equation for h. So we'll simply multiply each side of the equation by 275. And I would advise using the calculator on this, but of course we're all very good at doing long multiplication, and so we'd be totally fine with multiplying this thing out by hand, right? Most of you would. Okay. All right, so the number here is 99 hits. That's how many hits the batter has in their 275 at bats. All right, folks, to wrap up our notes, listening to one of my favorite artists, Snow Patrol. Just know that you need to come to class, as we've talked about, ready to work. You guys have a great day.